Hello, everybody. Jester here with 5+ questions to a mile maker. And my guest is,
Mike from Terranscapes.
how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well, actually. Not too bad.
That's cool. Ready for the questions?
I am most certainly ready.
All right. Question number 1. Who are you? And please tell us about yourself, your hobby, and also, do you have more than one hobby?
Okay, so as I said, my name's Mike, and I'm the sole sort of person behind Terranscapes, which is a terrain manufacturing company, a small one. Um, and I guess in terms of how I got into that was, I was a former middle school science teacher, and I ran an after-school Warhammer club. And I was drawn into Warhammer because I used to play role-playing games and Dungeons and Dragons and different kinds of board games. And a couple students were showing me one of the army books from Warhammer Fantasy, and I was looking at it. And I was like, "Ooh, that looks kind of fun." And they just happened to be running an after-school program at that time that was looking for more clubs to start up. So I talked to the organizers of that, and they were willing to fund the club, and I started that off, and that kind of got me into the hobby and collecting an army. My first army was Dark Elves, and then I ended up leaving teaching after several years and decided to sell off some of the terrain that I had made for the club, and kind of stumbled upon the terrain making world on eBay, and realized that could be maybe a job for me. I thought I'd give it a try. Didn't really have a lot of other options open at the moment, so I was like, well, while time is free, let's give it a go. So that's kind of how I ended up doing Terranscapes. But in terms of overall hobbies, I mean, I've done some model rocketry. I spin fire, ploy, and let's see, what else have I done? Um, I don't know. Trying to think of looking around. What are some of the things that have been really drawing me in? I guess I find painting though to be its own hobby, irrespective of my gaming. I mean, I paint for enjoyment, and then I just get lucky enough to play with the miniatures that I paint. So,
That's cool.
yeah.
All right.
I think I'll probably sum it up.
Okay. Ready for number 2?
Definitely.
What got you into your hobby, and how long have you been into it? You
Let's
started in
see.
on
Well,
that a little bit.
pardon?
You started in on that, like answering number 2 into
Yeah,
the
yeah. I
first
guess I
question.
tied it in a little bit, but that's okay. It's going back though. If I could flesh it out even more by saying that I really I think the genesis of my hobbying was when I was in middle school, and that's when my friend and I first got Dungeons and Dragons, the basic set. So I'm
Oh,
old enough to have played the original basic set with the pink box, before there were editions. And that
yes.
really got us into role playing. And I used to play Star Frontiers, and then we moved on to some different kinds of board games, and then computer games. I was going to say online games. There were no online games back then, but adventure games oh God, what the heck was it called? It's the not the Atari 2600, but it was the other one that had the disc controller, pre Nintendo. Any case, so really,
In
so I started
television?
and in television. That's it. Yeah, nice. So that's really started a lot of my early gaming years, and then my dad was into war games a little bit. He was a ex-veteran who liked military recreations and things like that. So he got me a couple of board games from Bill Bradley, and those were sort of also like the first miniature hybrid games. So like Axis and Allies, and there was a whole series of games in that series there that had little miniatures in. So I got into that, and then we used to play Car Wars, Steve Jackson games, and all sorts of stuff. So that led all the way up to teaching, and eventually getting into Warhammer by that proxy. But I've been playing Warhammer for about let's see, that'd be 5. I don't know, maybe 7, or no, it must be longer than that now. Maybe 9 years, something like that.
Wow.
And running Terranscapes for about 5 or 6. I think I'm coming up on 6 now. So
Cool.
I don't know. Not that long when you're 42, but long enough to have some breadth behind you.
Cool.
Yeah, I think I answered the question. I don't
Yeah,
know if
you
I
answered the
did this
question.
part.
You didn't
Okay.
miss nothing on that one. You were really deep. All right. Ready for number 3?
Sure.
When and why did you start making YouTube videos? And have you met anyone from YouTube because of it?
Let's see. Well, I started YouTube videos probably a year after I started Terranscapes, and really, I can't remember exactly why I decided to start it. I think it was just it just occurred to me that that might be another way to get exposure. You know, when I started Terranscapes, it was very small. Well, I mean, it's still incredibly small, but I mean, my exposure was very limited. I had only had some, sales on eBay, and I had just started the website. And so it seemed like another good venue to try to get some exposure for new products. And then once I put up a couple videos on YouTube, I quickly realized, what kinds of feedback I could get from the community, and it sort of just mushroomed from there. But primarily, I can't remember the exact idea, like when did I decide to do that? I don't remember, actually.
All right.
I haven't met anybody. Oh, I forgot. And I haven't met anybody in a really meaningful way, other than a couple people have come up to me when I go to, GTs for Warhammer. Sometimes people will come up and say, "Hey, I've seen you on your, videos,"
That's
which
cool.
is always kind of nice because you always feel like nobody ever watches, that kind of like. But anyway, but I haven't, I don't have met anybody that I have regular contact with, from the videos.
All right. And kind of with Google Plus, you meet a lot of people now. So
I suppose it changes things quite a bit, actually. Yeah.
That should put, have you met anyone in person on that question?
Yeah.
All right. Ready for number 4?
Definitely.
Number 4. Do you have any tips for anyone new getting into your hobby? And this includes like making YouTube videos too. Or making YouTube videos. Because you can either answer just the hobby part or the YouTube question or both. It's your choice.
Yeah, okay. No problem. So let's see. I would say for terrain making as hobby wise, I would recommend taking the time to look around on YouTube for some videos. But don't just look for people who do, step-by-step tutorials. I don't ever look for a step-by-step tutorial. I always want to just see what the finished product was, where they started from, and then I'll extrapolate a little bit about how to get it to that point. And that gives me, challenges me to be creative. And that's really the essence of how to be successful in the hobby, is figuring out how to be creative on your own to get a desired effect. That's, I think, where you should really start. In terms of the kinds of materials, it's a really inexpensive hobby to start up in the sense that you just need, some glue, some pink foam, a hobby knife, some sandpaper, maybe a hot wire cutter, maybe not. There's ways to get around that, and that can get you off on a lot of projects, but really on the cheap, some cheap craft paint, some sand, and then you just go from there and you build it slowly. And the other tip really is, I think, the most important one. A lot of people ask me, oh, how can I do this? I'll never be able to do that, or how'd you get this effect? And the answer is usually just practice. When I've been doing water effects for 5 years now, and if you've been following my videos, I've been changing it every year. I'm doing something new, and right now I have a completely different idea of where to go with it, and I wouldn't have gotten there without doing all those steps before. So you just keep doing it, keep practicing. Start with a small project first. Don't start with a 6x4 table, because that's a lot of tablet to work from. You want something smaller so you can finish it, and then look at it and say, okay, next time I'm going to fix this. On the YouTube video tip wise, I guess I think it's important to try to be brief, which I don't always do. But I find that if you're repeating things a lot, people are like, yeah, I've heard that. So I try to keep my repetitions down. I go unscripted, but I have I will reshoot segments of my videos multiple times if I don't think I'm being clear, or I'm mumbling, or I stagger somewhere. And I think lighting is a really important thing, to have your face be brightly lit. I think that often helps.
Yep.
gives people a better chance to see who you are and what you're showing them. That's true when they're shooting minis or when you're shooting terrain to show people. A lot of times I think the number one problem people have is that they're not lighting it properly. So, and there's good videos on YouTube about lighting things as well. So they're worth taking a look at. And I think that'd be my tips.
All right. Ready for number 5?
Definitely.
Now this question is mostly aimed at people that say that like this tool is cheating and this tool is not cheating. Okay? That's the way it's the airbrush question, okay?
Yep.
I just want to say it that way because I had people ask me like, why do you have this question in there? I'm like, you know how many people have told me that paint a model when an airbrush is cheating? I heard thousands of times. I'm like, it's a tool. That's
normally I don't swear on my YouTube videos, and I would insert a swear there to proclaim that they're wrong.
Yeah.
As somebody who's go ahead. Well, your question though.
Right. Number 5 is: do you like an airbrush or paintbrush, or do you use both, and why?
Yeah, I think it's been amazing to see the explosion of airbrush usage in the last, I think, even in the last year. I can't believe how many people are coming out with videos on them, how many more stores are carrying them. It's a real explosion of it, and I think it's a huge asset to a hobbyist, and it's, I think, one of the most challenging tools I've ever tried to master, and I still haven't. I can hardly figure the thing out, and I've been using it regularly. So anybody who calls it cheating is somebody who hasn't used one, actually. I use it mostly for broad scale coverage at this point because I don't have the fine control that I would like to have. Yeah. Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah. I can't get the pinstripes confidently enough to get inside to a miniature and not worry about messing it up. So when I'm doing small detail work, it's still a brush for me. But when I'm doing big projects, it's fantastic for shading, for bringing in gradients on buildings, bringing gradients on vehicles,
even mud effects,
all sorts of kinds of effects. Yeah, it's a fantastic tool, and it's exciting to see it coming in as much as it has into the hobby. But I think it's definitely something. When I said before about practicing, it really requires practice and a lot of patience. Because it requires a whole new set of skills that you can't really. It's one thing to be a painter and then have somebody show you how to do glazing, to do seamless blending. You're like, oh, okay, I've used a paintbrush before. This is a new way of using a paintbrush. Mm-hmm. But an airbrush is like no other tool, and so it requires a whole new way of wrapping your brain around it. But
mindset.
Yeah, I'd like to use it more. How's that?
Okay. Ready for number 6?
Sure.
Now, a lot of people, this usually is the longest answered question.
Okay.
So I'm just warning the world right now. Number 6 is: what was your favorite mini or model to paint and why?
Oh boy. Well, I don't have particularly favorites that I've painted. I think one of the ones that I was most proud of, that I enjoyed the most, was the when the GW released the new Stegodon for the Lizardmen.
Oh, nice.
I really took some time with that miniature and gave it a lot of love, and I think it came out really well. And it's a fantastic miniature. It's just super dynamic. But I'd say usually my favorite miniature to paint is the next one coming up that I'm really gonna try to work hard on. A lot of times I paint miniatures and I'm just trying to get them on the table. I talk a little bit about this in my recent video for I'm gonna paint a miniature for a competition. So often I'm just trying to get it out. I just want it on the table with my army. And after you painted 70 zombies, do you really want to spend a whole 5 hours on the next zombie? You don't. So
sorry.
No, that's quite right. But so in terms of and miniatures keep getting better and better. They're constantly releasing new and improved sculpts, and the miniature revolution that's happened in the last 5 years is unbelievable. So I would say the next one I'm going to paint is my favorite, and Isabella von Karstein is my favorite at the moment.
Nice. All right. Number 7.
Yeah, number 7. Yep.
What's your opinion of a model maker to a wargamer?
I think of a model maker as somebody who's primarily interested in the model for itself, and traditionally that's been somebody who would collect something like military models and build aircraft carriers and jet fighters and place them on the bookcase. Of course, even going further back, they build replicas of ships and things like that. And I think now that extends into an overlapping miniature range, in the sense that there are plenty of people who are interested in painting miniatures that are part of a war game, line, but are not painting them for the war game. They don't play the game; they paint the miniatures. And I think a war gamer is somebody who incorporates either a love, or I should say, loves the game and may or may not love the painting. There are many war gamers out there who will be very happy to play with bare plastic. And there are many war gamers out there who will want to play with a beautifully painted army. But I don't think of them as model makers, because they're playing, and people who work on models and don't play are not war gamers.
All right. Ready for the last question?
Definitely.
Last question is, who do you think I should ask these questions to next, and why? And if you say someone I already interviewed or have down on the list that is going to be interviewed, I'll say I already got them. That way.
No, that's no problem. Let's see. I think might be interesting to have the train guy, Sean Morris. He comes at terrain from a slightly different angle. Of course, I'm thinking of terrain guys. Ooh, who else would be good? Would be Vi Painted. He is a master of airbrushes, and so that's a whole different. I'd love to hear his take on some of his background into getting into airbrushing. I love his videos. Might be interesting, to be honest, also to have an industry, somebody big, so perhaps a representative from Woodland Scenics, for instance, since they're the major suppliers of so many of our products in the terrain side of things. It'd be great to get maybe a spokesperson to have some industry perspective on it and where it might be going. There's 3. You asked for one. I'll give you 3.
I never thought about asking Woodland Scenics.
Yeah,
I have to, thank you on that, because they just recently had a fire. They lost their building. They need more pull out. Yeah,
that's true. Actually, they did have that fire. So
it was during Sandy too. So wow. Sorry about that.
No, that's all right.
All right. That's one I had never thought about doing.
Yeah.
The companies themselves.
Yeah, it might be,
That might be fun.
Certainly, a company like Army Painter or Mantic Games, or, those are certainly companies that I think have done some outreach to the community in the past and might be willing to, and would be great to have. But just thinking, Woodland Scenics, they don't get a lot of face exposure, and I'm actually really surprised a lot of times when people ask me where I get my stuff. They're not familiar with Woodland Scenics because they're associated with railroad hobbyists so heavily. They're the bread and butter of a terrain, shop in any case. So it's the cheapest flock you can ever get. Why get this little thing for $4? Why you get this bottle like yay big for $5, $10? Don't buy GW flock.
And I'm not even talking about GW. I'm talking Gale Force 9 does it.
That's right. No, you're right. Those little touches. But of course, sometimes if you're just interested in it.
No, well, if you get like a sample,
army, you don't need a giant pail of it. So in that case, I can understand that.
I would never even get it. I'm sorry to say this. I would never even get it, even if I was given to free as a sample, I would use it. But if I would, I know for a fact that I can use that big bottle, and I can use it on terrain. I can use it on my minis. I can use it on everything else. It's a decent buy to save and keep in the corner, and it doesn't go bad. It doesn't mold. It doesn't go rotten. It's made of polymer, so it won't die. So there's
no, lasts forever. That's right.
So it's a good buy, and it's good for the hobby, and you keep it for a long time. And Count, they have like little flowers. like little bead flowers that look like real flowers.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love woodland scenics.
Yeah. No, they're great.
All right. Now, this is the time. This is what I call shameless plug time. You can plug your channel, your YouTube, your channel,
Yep.
your Facebook, your website, everything you want. Even if you want to plug people that you know, it's your time to shine. And when you're done, just say, I'm done. And that's when I'll end the show.
All right. Well, let's see. For myself, I don't do Twitter. I don't do Facebook. So I don't have any of those addresses. But, of course, my website is terranscapes.com, and that's TERRAN scapes.com. Some people make the mistake that it's Terranscapes, and that's my fault for choosing a crazy name. My email is mike@terranscapes.com. You can email me anytime, and I do try to provide tips to people when they're working on projects, things like that. But of course, if you have any interest in purchasing anything that you see on the website, you can always contact me there. And of course, my YouTube channel is Terranscapes, and I post videos maybe almost once a week, sometimes even more frequently, and sometimes less, depends on what kinds of projects are coming up. But I'm doing some videos this month that are going to be on me painting a miniature, which is extremely rare, may never happen again, so you may want to check those out. And it's I think a lot of people find something there that they enjoy, and you're welcome to check it out. So I think that's all I have for me that I'm willing to plug, and I can't think of anybody else at the moment, so I guess I'm done.
Cool. Well, that's a show. Thanks for being on it.
No problem. Good fun.
Yes, it was. And like I said, keep your blade sharp and let the hobby fun. Bye, everybody.